thank you kindly. Thank you for agreeing to take part in our interview, dear Anne. We first met, I tried to recall, I think it was 2011 in London. It was Brentford, to be specific. And since that time, my admiration for you is getting deeper and deeper as long as I know you better and better. I remember very well the times when we were, when you were moving briskly, very quickly from continent to continent, with trainings from China to Nigeria, from Pakistan to Middle East, and along with that, supporting us, your students, with deep and really very thoughtful coaching supervision. And, all these years, I really deeply admire your wisdom, passion, devotion, and you know what? I try to follow your example. I'm not sure that I'm able to, but I try to do that. So, and when these days we started our social project, which is called the Energy of Silver, Mature Age, I once thought that I would love to arrange an interview with you and ask you these 6 questions about resources and strengths of mature age. Should we start?
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you very much. So the first question is, how did you imagine silver age, mature age, and what does it look like in practice?
In many ways, I never imagined mature age. If I think back to when I was most influenced by the 60s, because it was the beginning of so much hope. You had many, many creative people at that time. You had the Beatles, you had the Rolling Stones, you had Terence Conran, you had Vidal Sassoon, and I was part of the creative, if you like, because I trained originally as a hairstylist in Edinburgh. And Edinburgh was a beautiful city. And I trained and worked in the centre of Edinburgh in Princes Street. So you felt part of a new world. It was coming out of the old world where the war had been on. And there was so much hope. So I never imagined being older. And also, I met a man from England because I was in Scotland. And in those days, to marry somebody from England, you were looked down upon because the English were seen as the enemy. So I married somebody from England and we had a vision of a life together. And we wanted to create something beautiful for our lives. Because both of us had grown up without very much. Both of us had grown up in families that were kind, but they couldn't give us a lot materially. So we had a vision, and I think that the vision was about getting a beautiful home, having a family, and then mine began to change because I wanted to have an education that I hadn't really had the opportunity to have. But before that happened, we went off and lived in Hong Kong. And that was in the days when China was closed. And we lived out on the new territories near the Chinese border. So we made many, many Chinese friends at that time. And I would never have believed that I would one day go back and teach people coaching and leadership in my older years. I would never have imagined it.
I recall very often the story of your living in Hong Kong, and this is the country. I think it's one in the list. It's one of the first countries in the list where I would love to go after everything is over, all this stuff is over. Yeah, thank you very much. And the second question is, okay, you didn't actually imagine or think about mature age, but now, from the point where you are now, what advice would you give to those who just approach or enter this period in their lives?
Well, I would say that for women in particular, and possibly for men, your life can be recreated many, many times. So a lot of people yearn for retirement, and yet for some people like me, retirement isn't an option because my work is a vocation, and that's different from a job. So I don't want to give up work. So I would say, find out who you are and what's important for you, and then prepare yourself for that. Because I took my first degree in my 40s, and I took a master's in my 60s, and I would take another master's now if I could find the right one. So keep your aspirations available to you and recognize that you can continue to grow for a lifetime.
I would take another master if I find a right one. The question is, what are the areas of knowledge or skills you plan to acquire?
Many.
For example?
I would love to do a doctorate in coaching. I'd love to do a doctorate if I could find the right supervisor to think about the coaching of all of you at GSK, of taking people who are successful in the field, but who are hungry for something more, and training them then to become a coach, and then training them to go on and maybe facilitate coaching, other trainings, as you have done. I would love to look psychologically at what needs to happen for the individual to go through that series of development steps and write a doctorate on it. I would love to do that. Or I would like to do a master's in organisational development. I'd like to do a master's in leadership.
Wow. I would love to do a master in finance, which is quite opposite to what I was studying first, because I am a psychiatrist, and finance and psychiatrists are not so close to each other. But anyway, things change, the life change, and it goes on. I remember Pakistan, our fantastic conversations in Karachi, especially in restaurant. And, I got a feeling that time when we were talking to each other that mature age could be even more interesting and filled up than youth. And now, what gives you energy and strength in your age to start the new day, to get this activity, to give this passion to people? And what is it? What gives you energy?
Well, I think I've always been fortunate to have a lot of energy. And in my 40s and 50s, I had children, my husband, I looked after my mother. I had a business, a retail business, and I was also in training at that time. And doing all of that gave me energy. So I think that being active actually is what gives me energy. But the driver behind all of that is that I want to feel that each of us can make a difference in the world, just a small difference. And I find that knowing that I'm working with people who are also making a difference gives me energy.
So it sounds like it is some way of mission or something like that. This feeling that you can change a little bit, but it's in your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't like getting older. I'm not happy about getting older, and yet I have to also surrender to it because there's not a lot I can do about it. I am getting older. But I'm not into having these operations on my face I never go to the gym. I don't do anything like that. But I find that what keeps me with a youthful attitude is continuing to do the work I do.
So you don't go to the gym?
No.
You don't do any sport? Or
No.
You do?
No, I don't. No. My husband and I walk.
We like walking. So, but this arrhythmia with my heart has meant that I'm not able to walk as far. So I have limited walking, but we still enjoy it. And we actually are good friends. We enjoy our life together. We have a good relationship. And I think that means that I'm enthusiastic about life.
Yeah, but anyway, getting older, as you said, it somehow brings some limitations. Yeah,
Yes.
And if there were no limitations, what would you do? What else would you do if there were no limitations?
I probably would walk further. I would walk further.
No doubt. Far.
I would
live in the island.
I would continue to. Yes, I'd love to walk all over Britain. I'd love to walk all over Britain and all over the world. Yeah, but I would also probably want to do more work. Because I have plenty of work, but I might look for more work. But now I have to be careful that I don't take on too much, because actually I work at least 5 days a week. At least.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So you still work 5 days a week?
Oh, yeah.
I'm green of envy, really. Yeah. I would love to do the same, really. Yeah. Anything else? Would you love to travel somewhere in the middle of the heart of Africa?
If I had plenty of money, I'd love to take my granddaughters travelling, each of them individually, because each of them is different. So I would like to go travelling with them and really have time to listen to them and to hear them speak about their lives and just to enjoy.
And that would give them fantastic recollections for all their life.
Yeah.
I still every day recall my grandma and our conversations we got. Yeah, it could be very important. So the sixth question is about people who admire and influence you during your life, my life, your life. These people change, and now in mature age, who are the people who influence and inspires you? Who are they?
Well, it can be quite lonely, in fact, at this sort of age, because I don't have very many role models right now of people who are still as passionate about their work as I am. But it's interesting. I'm on LinkedIn, and I saw somebody come up on LinkedIn, and she works for L'Oreal in Paris. And I remember her mother was my first boss in England when I came to live in England. And her mother was a Greek lady who'd come to live in England and who'd set up hairdressing salons in England in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And I managed all her salons for her then. And when I think back to her name was Eleutheria Croker. She was the best mentor I could ever have had. When I came to live in England, she used to take me to London, to theatres, to restaurants, to look round at the buildings. She introduced me to a different way of looking at life than my own parents had done. And she had a big influence on me about always reach for more. Always reach for more.
So this is this is the woman from your past, and you said that it could be difficult to find role models between the people of your age, because they should be at least as active as you are, or maybe even more.
But many of them are old and they've given up on life, and I find it boring. So most people that I'm friendly with are younger than me. So
yeah.
And they're at a different stage in their lives, but I'm still interested in what they're doing.
Thank you very much, Anne. And we wish you a long-lasting, healthy, interesting, thrilling, mature ages. And I'm once again, I'm so grateful that I met you in my life. And for me, you are a real role model. And I do my best to follow you. And sometimes I even ask myself questions. What would Anne say in this case? Really? Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Thank you.